What's up, everybody? What's up? Man, I tell you, Baby Yoda is one of the cutest things ever, ever. What's up, everybody? Welcome. We got national audience from all over the states. I should have took notes. I saw California. I saw a bunch of places. Hello, everybody. Um, yeah, Baby Yoda with that music is just. I figured let's have something fun tonight. Um, we got we got Angela Keane coming on tonight. She's rushing home because she was at the clinic, and we will have her on in a little bit. Charlie is Murray. You had it exactly right. He was flying home. He was actually still at work when I spoke to him a few minutes ago. They got bombarded today at work, so he may or may not show up tonight. But we have Angela Keane. I know a lot of you know Angela from back in the day where she was a television newscaster, and then more recently, one of the founding members of the Hawaii Quarantine Kapu Breakers, which was responsible for a lot of the enforcement when we had quarantine enforcement, when we actually went after those guys. But yes, she was a very instrumental part of that program, and unfortunately, as many of you know, she got COVID. She got COVID early on, and I think before they even had capabilities of testing. Well, we'll let her tell her story tonight. But what a lot of people don't know is she went off the radar for a while. In fact, we didn't bother her for quite a while. She was a regular on our show, giving us updates with the Kapu Breakers, and yeah, she the long haul or long COVID, I guess it's called now, but we call them long haulers. The real issues of COVID. You know, a lot of people, oh, it's mild, and blah blah blah. I don't know if any of you saw Tim Brown's spotlight today. He said it's milder for people that are vaccinated and boosted, but for those that are unvaccinated, this is a deadly disease. I don't know why people cannot get that through their head. This isn't a cold. This isn't a flu. So, um, and Angela will tell her story, but she suffered quite a bit. And again, we'll let her share the story. How is everybody doing? How is everybody doing? Um, you know, it's been a rough week again for us over here in Kauai. We lost a brother officer, Danny Oliveira, 49 years old. Um, Not COVID, but nonetheless unexpected. Uh, and condolences out to the family and to all of our brothers and sisters in blue. You know, they are a true family, a unit. And whenever one goes down, just a month ago, we lost another one, Mr. Bankwell, to COVID. And it was 1 month to the day where our brother Danny uh, passed away. So rough times here on Kauai, and condolences out to all of the families that have lost loved ones. And this goes to everyone. We all know someone um, that has either been personally affected or lost a loved one. For those of you that um, have sent a lot of messages about my stepmom, she's actually at home right now. I think many of you may have saw the post. It's amazing, guys. From the doctor telling my dad that she wasn't going to make it through the night because of COVID, her lungs were so devastated. We put out the prayer circle request, and the village, I tell you, man, the village, you guys did it. And yesterday she went home. She's on oxygen at home, slowly getting better. But the fact that she's at home, recovering at home, nobody wants to be in the damn hospital. Uh, but the power of prayer cannot be denied, guys. And I thank each and every single one of you that sent prayers, that sent pleasant thoughts. Um, Not sure if my dad is on yet tonight, but on behalf of our Ohana, mahalo to all of you for the prayers, guys. It's unbelievable. There's really no explanation other than prayer, the power of prayer. So, anyway, a lot of things going on, guys. numbers are looks like it's coming down again. If you saw Tim Brown's, there's my dad. He just popped up. What's up, pops? I just shared with the village about mom and how she's at home now, recovering at home. What a blessing. Yeah, but Dr. Tim Brown on Spotlight today made it very clear. We have to pay attention to what's going on in other states and other areas, which we didn't do earlier. I just think I was having a discussion with my friend today, and we are just talking about how many lives could have been saved if we had taken the proper not locking down, guys. It bothers me when people misconstrue what I'm trying to say. When I say add more restrictions, what we were talking about, right? We were talking about stopping the variants from coming into our shores simply by testing, by making the unsafe travel program a safe travel program. That's what we're talking about. We never pushed lockdowns. Lockdowns is not good. But if we had did our job at the border, if we had done our jobs at the airports, that variant would have not had the opportunity to spread like it did. And I'm talking about Delta and Omicron. But we failed, guys. I mean, that's plain and simple. We failed. We didn't take the actions necessary because we didn't want to upset the powers that be. And listen, guys, we all know and appreciate tourism. We all know and appreciate the fact that tourism, that industry provides a lot of our family and friends jobs and careers, really. But we could have had both. We could have had safety, and we could have had a very safe travel experience for our visitors. But we chose not to. We chose to, move forward full speed to open up the visitor industry at the cost of human life. And I think that is where I have a huge problem with the way we handle things. And Dr. Dworkin, his book, The Plague Doctors, if you haven't read that, you need to get it. He spells it all out, what we did wrong. And then when Omicron came around, you think we would change? No. In fact, I heard the lieutenant governor this morning on the news telling everybody that we're at the end of the tunnel, that he expects restrictions to be lifted by March, even the unsafe travel program, because the funding stops. You see how these things all tie into money, right? Because the federal government money for safe travels or unsafe travels stops in March. And ironically, we're going to lift safe travels. That's what he's talking about anyway. If Representative Psyche didn't pressure the mayors without taking away home rule, things might have been different on Kauai. Absolutely. Absolutely. That is true, Samuel Shirai. We had, Kauai is living proof. Everybody say, well, what study? Hey, guys, sometimes reality, when you have real world situations that we saw what can happen if you tighten up the border. You saw exactly, and we did it. Yeah, we were strict. We definitely were strict, but there was a way we could have done it as things progressed, that we could have allowed people to hang out in their hotels, just not go out, test on day 3, day 4, day 5, whatever it is, and we would have stopped a lot of the spread of this virus. So we'll see. We'll see where this thing goes. I hope and I pray that this is the beginning of the end of COVID. But based on all that I have read and I have heard from our local experts as well as experts on the mainland and even around the world, this isn't the last of COVID. So we gotta understand that, and we cannot take chances. We cannot put human life at risk. We need to do what we need to do. Now, we all have that individual responsibility. We talk about that all the time. And there's no getting away from that, people. We have to do what we need to do. In other words, you got to wear the mask. No, I did not read Jerome Kim's post about Korea's Omicron plan. I will do that, though. Thank you. Today was a crazy day, man. For me, personally, it was just busy. And so I wasn't able to. I will go check it out right after the show, though. But Dr. Jerome Kim, South Korea, they're seeing record numbers right now. As with many other locations, some of our states are spiking out of control, and I think that is the warning for us. When when this virus is still blowing up in parts of our country and parts of our world, why would we even think about removing restrictions? Why would we even think about lessening the restrictions when we know that if you just let your guard down for 1 second, you get hammered? And I guess because our state looks at hospitalizations and they look at deaths, that it's okay to fill up the hospitals as long as we can manage it. Now, that's to me the most ludicrous justification in I've ever heard. Like, why would you want to see the hospitals get filled to the point where you cannot manage? I mean, why would you want to do that? No, you want to prevent people from getting sick. And as you'll see tonight, when you hear Angela's story tonight, which is one of many, please, if you know of people that could be blessed with this information, please tag them, share them, send them an email, call them up, tell them tune in, because this story is one I think that will wake a lot of people up. I know, I suspect anyway that maybe not Josh Green or Governor Ige or any of those guys actually watch the show, but I know for a fact that they have their staff members watch the show, sometimes live, most of the time after the fact. But that is, this is what they need to see, because when they keep misrepresenting this virus and saying, oh, it's not as severe, oh, it's mild, people in your head starts to think that, wow, it's not that bad. Well, again, you'll see the story tonight, and we'll let you be the judge. The village is the least of my concern, because we have been fed the information for so long, the factual information. So why not have everyone take the test if they travel unvaccinated? Yeah, absolutely, Kelly. I mean, we have been pushing for that for probably, I don't know, a year and a half, maybe. I don't know how long. It's been a long time. That was the simple ask of our state, was just test everybody. Just test everybody. And of course, they didn't want to inconvenience visitors. They didn't want to inconvenience travelers. They actually believe that the visitor industry did not create the virus in Hawaii. Yeah, right. How the hell did it come in the mail? UPS, FedEx. I don't know if you saw my post. I think it was yesterday, about the study that was done. And I know some of you are going to say, well, because I already saw the post from Adam saying this wasn't a peer-reviewed study. It's because it was done at the hospital with healthcare workers. So bottom line is, we'll have Dr. Miskovich and Dr. Miskovich and Dr. Akiona on tomorrow to discuss that study. We are going to move Wednesday's show to Tuesday, because Wednesday is my grandmother's services, and we're going to have a little get together with the immediate family on Wednesday night. So we're moving Wednesday night show to tomorrow night. But we have Dr. Miskovich, Dr. Akiona to talk about that study, which proves that the infectiousness of this Omicron variant goes beyond the 5th day, 6th day, 7th day, 8th day. I don't know if you saw the study. Go to my page, you'll see it. The actual report is on my page. You can read it. But the bottom line is, this 5-day return to work or school or whatever is not sufficient. It was clear, and I believe it was 58% of the healthcare workers that tested positive on day 6, on day 7, on day 8. So we'll talk about that tomorrow night with Dr. Miskovich. How did they get 5 days? Because Delta Airlines asked for 5 days. And if you haven't seen the letter that Delta sent to the White House, it's available everywhere. Just Google it. Bottom line is, remember, the airline industry was crippled because of COVID, right? Because all of their employees were out. And because they had to wait 10 days, they couldn't get them back to work on time. So the Delta Airlines wrote a letter to the president and White House and said, hey, please, please, please allow us to have our workers come back after 5 days. Then they created this whole story. It's amazing how the CDC can can flip like that and say, oh, Omicron, after 5 days, you're fine. That's a lie. That was a lie. They knew it was a lie. But they went ahead and did it anyway to help save the airline industry and healthcare workers. They started off with the healthcare workers because they had no healthcare workers to tend to their patients. So they had very strict protocols for those that had tested positive, that had no symptoms, could come back to work, and they would only be working on COVID positive patients. That's how it started. Then Delta sent the letter, and all of a sudden we have a brand new national protocol, 5 days. Yes, Mireille, we went from 14 to 10 economics. Never mind the thousands and thousands and thousands of people that were dying every day across the country. Never mind, because we had to take care of the business industry. Well, now I'm curious to see what they're going to do now, because the summary of that report basically said, if we stay with this policy, understand that the spread of the virus is going to be increased because you have infected people going back to work, going back to school, going back to whatever. And that was a very revealing study. It just came out. It's brand new. I believe it was done in January. The statistics or the data was collected all in January. Very recent study, just put out. So go check out my page and read it. You'll see it. You won't miss it. Angela is logging in. She just texted me. So she should be in, because I'm running out of things to say. And I can't sing. I can't dance. I can't tell jokes. So she needs to hurry up and get her okole on this show. But yeah, so tomorrow night, guys, 7 o'clock. No show on Wednesday, all right? No show on Wednesday. But yes, if you know anyone that could benefit from this story tonight from Angela about long haul or long COVID or whatever the hell you want to call it, I can't agree. Oh, I see. I'm just trying to read up some of these comments. As long as people come and go, tourists or local, we will get whatever strange. Absolutely, that's the truth. It's not limited to tourists. The testing requirements should be for anyone that comes off of that plane. I don't care if you're a tourist, you're a resident, doesn't matter. So anyway, I hear Angela. Hang on here. Let me see if I can get Angela on. Angela!
Hold on just a second. I'll make sure I'm on here. Okay, can you see me? Let me see. I make sure I get myself centered. My computer is giving me some problems, so I'm using my cell phone.
Join the club. Join the club. What's up, Angela?
Oh my gosh. There's
It's
a
been
lot.
a while.
How are you guys doing?
We're still here.
Thank God for you. Here. Thank God for you guys. Thank God.
No. I tell you, it's become a habit now. It's automatic. It's automatic. And we miss you. I was explaining before you came on, because we have a lot of villagers that are newer, that may not have been around when you were a regular on the show, updating us with the Kapu Breakers. And I shared with them how instrumental you were with that group and how you guys were chasing people all over the place on all islands, helping out law enforcement. You guys did a great job. And
Thank you.
And then you got sidelined for a little bit. You had COVID. You got COVID, and I remember you sharing the story about COVID, but COVID didn't end when the symptoms ended.
Right.
But we're gonna let you tell your story. But before that, say hello to the village. And you got a lot of fans on here tonight, man. You got a lot of fans.
Thank you. I'm trying to log into Facebook so I can see the comments. Hopefully everybody can hear me. What were you going to say, Mel?
No, just give us a little overview about what's happening with Angela Keane right now. We'll talk about your journey, but just overall, aside from the journey, what's going on? I mean, you.
Couple Breakers is still running. We do still have a core group of people, and I keep in contact with them on a daily basis, and they are really the nuts and bolts and the gears that make the group still work. it's not been made public, but we have been regularly shutting down clubs and bars that have been breaking the rules. You know, a lot of these places they're supposed to be checking for masks and vaccine cards, but they're not, and that's a risk. And so we have built a really good relationship with all the different law enforcement agencies and agencies in general, from Department of Health to the Liquor Commission. Shout out to the Liquor Commission, because every time one of my team members calls them, they're doing the work. And if you hear or see of bars getting shut down, it's because of kapu breakers. And we feel that that's really a big risk right now, because that's the time when you're drinking uninhibited, you take off your mask and you're dancing and, you know, going all over the place. And that's really a big risk, because those people are going to go home and come into contact with their family members, their elders, their kupuna, their coworkers, their children. And then it just becomes a big ripple in the ocean, as we've seen happen. So yeah, we've been doing that. I keep in contact with, you know, most all the islands. Oahu and Maui are the most active right now. Kauai also gets a bit active. We heard about a nurse from Nebraska who got held up in quarantine, and was really upset about it, because I think she's positive, or whatever happened. She didn't have everything that she needed when she got there on Kauai. And so she's stuck in quarantine and she's really upset. So, you know, still some of the same things happen. We did have our biggest quarantine breaker. If you remember that concert in Waianae with Sway Lee, which is the really, the well-known rapper among Gen Z crowd. If you remember VFX Josh, he broke quarantine 5 or 6 times. We caught him every time. $25,000 in fines. Problem is, the prisons are full, the jails are full. They got a lot of backed up cases. So his last case was just a few weeks ago, and the judge dismissed his case. Probably one of the biggest notorious quarantine breakers we've ever had that's local, that lives here.
Yeah, and that's why it'll continue, because they're, you know, the enforcement's tough. Just getting them prosecuted is tough. But you know, we can only do what we can do.
Right.
You know, unfortunately, by the time these people get caught, the damage is done. The spread has already occurred. Their concerts, had, you know, I mean, and it's unfortunate. The current rules, the current regulations, and I think a lot of it is because we as a state have really minimized the danger of the virus. I really believe that, and I think that's why a lot of people are willing to take that chance, because if you listen to the news, it's not that bad, and we're going to find out real soon how bad this thing can be. But yeah, I think that's part of the big problem is from for the last year and a half, I guess. Yeah, the first 6 months, it was incredible, right? Everybody was so afraid of this thing. People were dying, and people were starting to pay attention. And then once vaccines started coming around and we had certain restrictions, and you had the state starting to minimize how dangerous this thing was, and people started to say, well, if I get it, it's okay, because I've been boosted, I've been vaccinated, and what have you. And the problem is, whether you're boosted or not, being the carrier of this virus is the problem. Right? You're passing the virus to other people that may not have the same level of protection that you may have. And that is where the aloha supposed to come in, right? We do things not for ourselves, but to make sure we protect others. And I've seen.
And where has that aloha gone? I mean, where has it gone caring for others? Because not one of the COVID naysayers ever talks about long haul, ever. Like, it's not even in their mind. And we are going to have a generation of long haulers. We've got keiki, toddlers all the way up, to 18 that have long haul, different types of symptoms. And then we have all the adults that have long haul. I would say probably 50, they say about 25 to 50% of the long haulers won't end up going back to work will end up being on disability. And that's what I was encouraged to do. I can't tell you how many, because I've worked in the medical field, how many people have said to me, Angela, have you thought about me? No, not right now. Not right now. No way that I am going to go on disability. I can't. I can't. I mean, it would be for me, it would be the end of the world if Angela went on disability. And it's just, I found myself in a post on oh, here we go. I'm able to get into the comments now so I can talk. But no, it's just I've had brief conversations with people. For the most part, I've been off of social media. I've just been silent, and I had to, because really had to focus. I'm not one of those people that does things for myself. Self-care, me time, that's just not something I grew up doing. And really, for me, self-care is caring for other people. And you really learn hard and fast when you hit your face flat on the ground that you just got to step away and do the shadow work, as they call it, and motor through that mud. And like a lotus, lotus can't grow without that mud and that gunk. And all of a sudden it takes months and months, and pretty soon that bud comes out through the mud and it starts to become beautiful and to shine. This has been an incredible process. Not once did I skip out on Couple Breakers group. No, I really gave them the one piece of time that I had left. And we have this process that works really well. We have WhatsApp, and all of our groups from each island are, private, and they're locked up, so nobody can get in. And I can check in and out of those rooms from each one of the islands, or the counties, I should say, just to get a feel for what's going on that day. If people have questions, they can, message me or whatnot. But pretty much our core team, one from Kauai, the rest from Oahu, and a handful of others from neighbor islands who pitch in when needed, have really been running the group. And if it weren't for them, this wouldn't have continued. They just really kept me going. And I gotta say that, when there were times when I forgot, which I did a lot, when there were times that I missed something, when they're, sending reports here or there, or whatever, if I didn't write it down and I didn't get it done for a good reason, they picked the ball up and they'd nudge me, and they were so great. They were so good, had such good attitudes, and have such good attitudes about it. It was like, I couldn't be luckier to have such a great team of volunteers. I wouldn't have trudged through that mud without them. And I'm just about at the light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, thank you for all that you have done with that group. And I know there's a lot of people involved, but you were the leader, and got people motivated to stay active, because there came times where people just wanted to really give up, Angela. It just wasn't. It didn't feel like it was helping, but you guys stayed the course, and awesome. So anyway, tonight we're going to talk about COVID. We're going to talk about long COVID. We're going to talk about long haulers. So I'm going to put the screen back to you, Angela. Take us back to when you got COVID and how you found out you had COVID. Oh gosh, I remember when you shared that story with us. So let's start there, and then we'll go into the long haul, and then I have a nice little PowerPoint for afterwards, and you can share with us the
Cool.
steps.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm watching all the comments here, so thank you all for the love and the concern, and all of the kokua, the help, and all of the malama. So I was one of the first people in Hawaii to get COVID. And probably because of, my part-time job, which is being a minister, a wedding officiant, where I do Hawaiian culture themed ceremonies with blessings and traditional sacraments that come along with it. And I remember March 1st, 2020, I had a wedding with a couple from Australia, and their whole family came, and their best man was sneezing and coughing, and he had a hanky. And I just thought about, wow, that's really old school. I haven't seen anybody carrying a hanky in a really long time. And he was a special needs adult, and he was so amazing and so loving. And he wrote a poem for the couple because he was the best man, and he shared his mic with me. And that's how I got it. That's how we believe that I got it. Flash forward 5 days later, 6 days later, I found myself on Friday. So wedding was on a Sunday. On Friday, I found myself at work. Nobody was in the office that week. My one colleague was at a conference, and the other one was out. So she was out on a trip or something. And so I felt really, after the fact, I felt really lucky that I wasn't really around anybody that week. And Friday came, my husband had a work event at a steakhouse, and I said, I am wiped out. I had been paying attention to COVID, but it was that at that point, it was pretty much in Asia and China. But now remember, this family came from Australia and had to go across the Asia and the Pacific before coming to Hawaii. So you can just about imagine the people that they came in contact with, and not their fault. We just didn't know about it back then. Friday came by 3-4 o'clock. I left work early. I was aching to the bone. I was sweating. I felt miserable. I felt like I was coming down with something. And so I told my husband, can't go to your work party. I remember vividly, I took a selfie with my dog, and that picture is so important to me because after that picture, I got into my sweats and I got into bed, and I never got out of bed pretty much until 8 weeks later. That picture was like the way Angela Keane used to be. I fought COVID for 8 weeks. They didn't think that I had it. The initial test that I had, there were no tests. They did the test incorrectly. They swabbed my nasal, the edge of my nasal. I mean, they didn't know back then. Then I was able to confirm with the family in Australia that yes, family members had gotten COVID, and yes, they were all sick. So that was my confirmation. During that 8-week period, I stayed home. I'm connected to the healthcare industry, so I was able to get myself oxygen, and I was able to get nebulizer and medications for breathing. I was so sickly and couldn't breathe, and had been to the ER several times, had been to urgent care several times, and pretty much had been dismissed. My husband was diagnosed with influenza at the same time, and they refused to test him for COVID because they said you cannot get both. And now we know that you can. So I had a number of different antibiotics and steroids. None of them worked. And by the 8th week, end of the 7th week, getting into the 8th week, my doctor said, let's try dexamethasone, which is a very powerful steroid that works very well with COVID. And within 48 hours, I was clearing up. And it took a while for all those steroids to wear off and the antibiotics and everything to wear off. And when it did, I started feeling like I had jet lag. I had sleep problems. I had emotional problems, and I felt just wiped to the core, basically. So that's the beginning. Do you have any additional questions before we go on to the whole journey? Oops, I can't hear you. I don't know why I can't hear you.
Because I muted myself.
Oh, okay.
In case I burped while you were talking, I didn't want everybody to hear. But I remember quite vividly, many of our villagers, as I'm reading the comments, remember that period of time where we didn't know. There was so much we didn't know about COVID. I don't think we even had tests back then. We may have had early on. But remember back then, the tests were like gold. Not everybody, you could never get a test unless you had the symptoms. Remember? Right. You had to have COVID before they would test you. Like, hello?
And they said to me, have you been out of the country? This was March 6th, March 7th, okay, March 7th, March 8th, and March 9th. Have you been out of the country? I said, no. Okay, we don't need to test you. I'm like, no, 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 no. You don't understand. I come into contact with a lot of international people because I do weddings. They're like, huh? They sent me home
Yeah,
with an inhaler. The second time they sent me home with cough medicine. And then they said,
yeah.
oh, we're not going to test your husband because he's got influenza B, but you don't have influenza B. So that made no sense whatsoever.
But you remember? I mean, back then though, that's what Remember when this started? Who would have thought we would have lost almost 1 million people in our country due to COVID? Right back then, no one knew. It was just such a new thing, and I'm not defending those guys, but it's just that's how far we've come. And yet, even though we've come so far, sometimes I think some of our decision makers they're still back there,
They are.
and
They are.
not paying attention to what is happening around the world, which we should have done, but we haven't. So
Yeah.
I remember actually seeing you. I mean, you look bad. You look really sick, and I'm thinking, I man, if that's COVID, I don't want COVID. If that's what, because no one knew at the time, right? I mean, we
Yeah.
suspected, and no doubt about it. So, all right. So 8 weeks later, you start to get better. I remember you complaining about still being winded and tired, which my daughter still does. My daughter has had COVID last year, and she still gets the fatigue and getting winded. And she's young and healthy, but the long COVID symptoms are still there. So at what point do you realize that, damn it, this is not going away? I'm still suffering some damn effects of
Yeah.
this stupid virus.
It was a lot of weird things. And just to let you all know, yeah, I had all the aches and the pains and exhaustion, but really where it affected me the most was my brain, and I didn't even know it. Initially, it was emotional issues, and sleep issues. I would have hypersomnia, which is sleeping 15 to 16, 17 hours. And then I would also have insomnia where I wouldn't sleep for 2 days, 3 days. And then I would have these, we had the trolls that would come to the group, or people that would message me, call me, text me, email me. And I would have really bad emotional breakdowns over that, to be honest with you, because my brain couldn't handle. And I remember some of the moderators just really taking over and saying, hey, don't worry, we got you, or vent as much as you want. They were really my saving grace. And I know behind the scenes, they were really like, oh my God, she's going to be okay. She's off the rails. I really was. There were some days and it just increasingly, those emotional things kept getting worse. And it was, I was so irritated at things so easily. I would cry at the drop of a hat. I mean, watching a McDonald's commercial that's a little sappy and crying my eyes out, not normal, not normal. So I did start therapy. I lost my job at Assets at the school. They laid off the entire marketing team, and that was right after I got COVID, and that was right when I joined Kapu Breakers and became a co-founder. And now the group was handed over to me, and then I was encouraged to become the founder by the original. So that's what happened. And then it was like, I started with the therapy. So I dealt with the illness and losing my, position and all the things that came in. And I was super sad. And I had already lost my father the year before. And, he was a girl dad. And I was really super, super close to my dad. So it was really like one bad thing after another. So kind of just thought I was just depressed, but I'm not a depressed kind person.
Hey, Angela, you also promoted, not so much promoted, but there were some support groups out there. I remember having a few of our guests early on that had COVID and had survived it, but they too were suffering from some long haul. But there were some support groups out there on Facebook. And how did that go? Did that help? I mean, it has to
Yeah.
help being able to share your experiences with others, right?
Yeah, that's really what got me going, because I started to realize that I was having some of these issues that they're talking about in news reports. And being a medical geek, I was reading, I was reading medical journals and research, and of course talking with friends like Dr. DeWolf Miller and the like. And then it really came to me that maybe I'm battling long haul, because I had all these issues. I had multiple ear infections. I had fluid in my ears. I was dizzy. I had headaches. I was disoriented. And then I started realizing that I was getting forgetful. And I went into these groups for support to see if other people were dealing with the same thing. And it was almost like 100% spot on. We'd start having conversations like, you too? Me too. Oh my God, that's COVID, long haul. And it just kind of like, okay, I think this is what I have, because there was a point that for almost a year that I lived in my pajamas and didn't get out of bed. And when I had Mel and Charlie show, I would do with all my might. I would put all my makeup on as best as I could, pull myself together, get up in front of the camera, put my ring light on to make myself look good, hold it together for an hour, and then collapse as soon as I got off the air and slept till noon the next day. And other times I would have 3 or 4 or 5 media outlets calling me national, the Atlantic, New York Times, Washington Post, Condé Nast, all these different media outlets, AP, Associated Press. I mean, once those started going, I was getting calls, emails, and text messages from media people, journalists from all over the country. And once they found out that I was a former journalist and it was so easy to work with me, I was getting bombarded with calls every day. And I didn't want to let that down, because if I did, the word would stop, and we wouldn't get the word out. So I just kept it going. And in between every media hit, as we call them, media hits, I would go down and take a nap. There were days when I forgot to feed my dog. There were days that I didn't ever take him out. He's got a pee pad on the lanai. He can go. He's a service dog, so he can handle. But I was really irresponsible because I just couldn't get it together. I sat down with my therapist in my video chat that I had with her one day, and I said, I think I have early onset dementia. I can't remember anything. Like, people have to remind me of names and places and things. And I was writing everything down and keeping notes, because I can keep notes on my phone, on my computer, on a written notebook. I had all of that. I had my calendar. I had a whiteboard that my therapist suggested that I get in the kitchen, and I'm writing it down there. And there was all this like trying to accommodate. Then I tried cognitive therapy. It didn't work. Then we tried different medications. Do you know that I was on, I think 3 or 4 different ADHD medications? All these different ADHD medications, because I couldn't keep it together with my thought process. I was just interrupting people. I couldn't sit still. I couldn't put 2 thoughts together. I mean, it was just like, huh? And nothing worked. I had gone through 6 different medications, including antidepressants, sleep medications, you name it, it didn't work. And then I started reading and hearing from people that were long haulers that, severe depression, and none of it works for long haulers. Shoot, my battery is getting low. Norm, sorry, you're going to get some real TV here. Norman, I need my cord and my charger. My phone's low. Can you bring that to me? You can stay off camera. It's right Norman, by my side of the couch. Sorry about that.
Is Norman your service dog? Is Norman your service dog? And no, is he trained to go get? Oh, okay. I was thinking, damn, that's a hell of a service dog, man.
Yeah. So
tell Norman the village says thank you, and
I will. He's been such a champion of leading me. I mean, that's not the one. That's not even the right one. It's the cord, the long cord that plugs into your phone and my phone. And the plug in. This is for the old Android phones. This is not for new. It's on the side of the couch. It's
See,
on
this
the
is
couch.
long haul in action. You see how irritable? You see how pissed off? She's just telling off her husband nicely. That's all part of the long haul, guys. That's what happens. If you guys don't think long haul is a problem, you're watching it live.
He says she's always like that. Oh, the new cord. Okay, and can you in here?
Oh,
She's like, oh my gosh.
plug it in where?
Oh, brother, you don't know. Right over there. Okay, sorry. So
Live
plugging
TV,
in, so,
baby, live TV.
so
That's
you
what I love
don't get
about
to
live.
use it. There we go. Right. Okay. Yeah. So I went through all those treatments and I was at the end of my rope. I was crying every day. I was breaking down every day. I couldn't hold it together. There were times when I told my team, hey, you guys are going to have to take over the group right now and keep an eye on the naughty people or the trolls, whatever. I have to step away. I had to simplify things. And social media kind of became addicting. So here's what happened. COVID can injure the brain like a concussion. Think about it. The original COVID.
They're saying now, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want to just put some context that the evidence now is that it affects the brain, the kidneys, the pancreas,
Oh yeah.
the liver. It affects all organs. So, sorry to interrupt, but
the vascular system, the heart. But for me personally, it was the brain. And, it enters through the olfactory glands, and it's possible, this is Angela's theory, that I'm not a physician, don't take this as medical advice, that it gets in through the olfactory glands and that way gets into your brain and you've got all that inflammation. There is a storm that happens after you begin to heal, and that storm causes inflammation. And it injures the neurons. Neurons are like those little electrical plugs that you plug in, compare it to a wire, a cord, and a plug-in for a light or your mixer or your radio or your phone. And the neurons, when they're injured, can't fire because they're constantly firing. Every moment of your life, your neurons in your brain are firing and telling your body what to do, to put your fingers up here, to make that shaka, to make the smile, to think about those thoughts. And every part of your brain has a different job. Unfortunately, the parts of my brain that needed to think, that needed memory, that needed executive function, that needed to keep things in order, were all damaged from COVID. And so the one part of my brain that was working was the very core of my brain called the amygdala. Sometimes it's called the lizard brain. And I'm sure many of you know that that's kind of that's the ancient part of our brain that's fight or flight, and it's flooded with emotions. Makes sense that I was crying all the time and I was upset and I was emotionally charged and that I couldn't hold it together. I'm going to tell you, I got help from Brain Health Hawaii on October 13. The week before, I probably would have been on the floor at the hospital in the psych ward. I couldn't function anymore. I couldn't get into the clinic I wanted to get into, and that was a blessing. So I talked to my psychiatrist who was working with my therapist, and he said, I know of a clinic called Brain Health Hawaii. They're a little bit different, and I think they can help you because it's a little bit more targeted. And so I was like, I'm game, I'll do anything. And you know what they said? You've got to fail 3 drugs in order to get approved by your health insurer. Well, I had failed 6 drugs. Flash forward to October 13. That day the day prior, I was a puddle. Just literally a puddle of mud and tears and just couldn't even function. And I held it together to get into, PTSD upon PTSD. Brain fog. Yes, absolutely. Yep. Total brain fog.
We have a couple of long haulers watching. We have Bozu Anama. We have Russell Izumo. These guys are struggling as well. So this is so helpful. Thanks again, Angela. Go ahead.
And let me tell you, brain fog due to damaged neurons from COVID. You cannot wake up a neuron with medication. It's like trying to restart a car with a dead battery. You can push it all you want, but that battery ain't gonna, it's not gonna go unless you can get it into neutral and get it down a hill, right? And get it to go and get the engine to start. What you can do is get another car, hook up the connectors to somebody else's really good battery and charge up that car, that battery, and get it to start. Well, that's basically what it takes for a neuron. You can throw Adderall and things that will hype up your brain, but for me, none of that worked. Some people get some relief from it. So flash forward to October 13, I go to Brain Health Hawaii, and they say to me, we need to do an EEG, and then encephalogram, whatever you call it. It's like what they do for your heart, but it's for your brain. It connects to all parts of your brain, and it can tell you what areas are working, what areas are not working. My brain was working barely at about 10 to 12 hertz, which is what people do when they fall asleep. Yeah. So I was for about 16 months sleepwalking, basically. And the person, the professional, the APRN, Dr. Creekmore, who was working on my case, he said to me he hadn't seen a scan like that. He was just flabbergasted. He says, how are you functioning? Do you realize? And I had to drag it out of him because he kind of didn't want to tell me because, hearing that you're pre-dementia or at dementia's door for a 50-year-old, kind of scary news. So yeah, he told me that, Angela, you're one notch above dementia. I said, give it to me. Just give it to me. Tell me. He did. And so this protocol wakes up the brain. It's painless. It causes almost zero side effects. Some people have a slight percentage of people, very minimal, that might have a seizure, but nobody that I know that I've talked to that's done it, and nobody at the clinic has had that reaction. It can make you dizzy. It can do other things to you. Dizzy, nausea. That's about it. That's about all I got. But I go every day for treatment, every weekday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Except for Saturday and Sunday, I get off. It is a commitment. So what I do is I go in and I sit in this special chair, and there's a giant magnet with I don't know how many thousands of Tesla that is there to tap on my brain and wake it up.
Is this where I should start the slideshow?
Yeah, you can definitely do that. You can definitely do that.
All right. Now, I don't think I've ever done a PowerPoint on this thing, so bear with me. Bear with me.
No problem. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
That is Dr. Jason Kiefer. He's amazing. So this is at Brain Health Hawaii. That was on Friday with Dr. Kiefer. And he's the one, he brought much of the technology that they have from the outset. This was really his interest. He wanted to help the people that didn't get help from medication. That really large thing there on top of my head is a very powerful magnet with electricity, but not powerful enough to cause any pain. No pain whatsoever. It's very relaxing.
You look relaxed. You look relaxed.
Yeah.
Look at you. You look scared to death.
I think I was scared to death because my husband was taking the pictures. And I was on. But so this goes now for 10 or 15 minutes. And every week that I go in, they do a brain scan. So they actually have proof of what my brain is doing and how my brain is performing. And with each lead that goes to the EEG, it shows your frontal brain, your prefrontal cortex, the central part of your brain, the rear part of your brain. And Brain Health Hawaii is different from some of the other clinics. I can't give away a lot of the proprietary information. However, they do targeted. Whereas the other clinics that you might see in Hawaii and across the continent, they kind of do a one size fits all. Whereas the treatment that they do for me is personalized and targeted to the parts of my brain that are not firing. That's a video right there. If you can play it, Mel, see if you can play the video and you can hear the tapping that goes on in the background. That was a message to my mom that I sent. It doesn't hurt at all. Just a tap, 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 tap. Yeah, my Norman is an angel. He has so taken care of me. He's a miracle for putting up with me too. But there you can see the tapping. This is proven. It is FDA approved. It is a last resort for people who have intractable, or that means medications don't work, for severe depression. My depression was at the highest level it could be. I don't believe in suicide, or I would have been in the hospital. That's the reason why I didn't reach a, 25, 27. I was in the 20s. And within, that's about 15 minutes. And by 40 treatments total, the first round. And by the 20th treatment, my depression score was cut in half. This is very carefully monitored. They're looking at my brain scans every week so they can see the improvements, and they're looking at my vitals. They're giving me tests, depression tests, attitude tests, forgetfulness tests. Here's what I noticed, Mel. This is incredible. I think one of the first things I noticed was my peripheral vision returned. I didn't know that I wasn't using it, but here I am. I'm seeing things pop in from the side of my eyes, and I'm jump. And then I look to the side and I'm like, wait a second. I haven't been doing that thing with my rear view mirror and my side mirrors, And it was like these plants and trees would jump out of the median or the sidewalk, and I was like, whoa. And I realized I was starting to use my peripheral vision again. And then it was music. So the EEG leads can show what your ears are doing, what different parts of your senses in your brain are doing. And I was like, is there something wrong with my ears? And Dr. Creekmore would say, well, your right side is showing almost no activity or very jagged activity, and it should be making this nice peak, and it's not. Same for your frontal brain, which makes sense because that's all connected, right, to here. And so I was listening to Bruno Mars in the car every day because it's on my playlist. And all of a sudden I hear the pings and the percussions and the drums and the bells. I'm like, what happened to our stereo? I told my husband, this is like we got a new stereo. Is it Bose? No, it's not Bose. But it was just like all of a sudden everything was enhanced. I could not believe it. And then I started remembering things. I started remembering names and dates and stupid things that I did, stupid things that I said to people. And just recently, the other night, I sat in bed and I thought to myself, you do that reflection before you go to bed. And I was like, I was always afraid that I could never do the alphabet backwards because I can't, right? If I ever have a drink or two and somebody pulls me over, I may be sober, but I'll never, when I'm sober, be able to do the alphabet backwards. Here I'm lying in bed the other night and I'm like, ZXYWUTSUQ, and I'm like, oh, I can do the alphabet backwards. And then I sat on the couch with my husband the next day and did it again. And I'm like, oh, this is good stuff. So
I gotta go get this treatment, Angela. A lot of the people are asking about the insurance coverage. You said you had to fail X amount of drugs before you could get in.
Yeah.
And everybody's insurance is different, but generally
Yeah.
speaking, the
Generally
insurance
speaking,
does cover.
it does, but you have to fail. So some insurance companies, you have to fail 1 or 2 drugs. Even Medicare, Medicaid will pay in certain circumstances. So HMSA, though, has an unusual rule that it's got to be 3 medications. And it can be over a long period of time. Hey, it was 2 years for me, and some prior to that, because I was an executive trying to function, and yeah, I have not paid 1 bill yet. Thank God. But just so you know, there are surfers. I'm trying to think of, is it Kennelly? The one? No, it's not Kennelly.
It is.
The the Olympian
had
that
a
just
story.
won. Yeah. So
They just had
a lot of the surfers use it because they have brain injuries, or or athletes use it because they want to be sharp. Basically, it tunes up your brain. When a neuron is damaged, it stops firing, and another part of the brain takes over, and it doesn't do a very good job. That's just basically it. Stroke patients get this treatment. Brain fog. Some women going through pregnancy that have the severe depression and postpartum issues afterwards, and they can't take medications because they're nursing. Some of them go through the treatments. Some pre-dementia patients, they try this on. They've tried it on Parkinson's patients, but it is FDA cleared for major depressive disorder. It is a last resort. I don't think it should be a last resort. It should be a first resort. It should be a first resort. Dr. Creekmore and Dr. Kiefer want it to be so that patients can come in and say, hey, I'm severely depressed. I've had a life crisis, or I've got something going on, and I need help. And to go there before you go to medication. It seems like it's hocus pocus. It's not. It makes so much sense. And all the research that I've read is so true, it just all fits into place. And for the first time in the last 2 years, I'm able to think clearly. Hey, I went up and got up early in the morning and made it a point to feed Scooter at his regular time. And all of a sudden I'm hearing the birds chirping. And my husband, and I said, oh my God, those birds are so beautiful. What's wrong? Why are they chirping so loud? He's like, honey girl, babe, every day, every day, Vlada. And I'm like, huh?
Wow.
Every day. You've been missing out, girl. And I'm like, oh my God, I've been missing it. So there's such a huge piece of this that is missing for long haulers. And it's really my goal to get in touch with every media outlet I can, including Sanjay Gupta. Dr. Miskovich has given me, moral support and said, I'll go to bat for you if needed. Dr. DeWolf Miller, other people, some of my news media friends. So you'll see more happening in the coming days. I'm part of an independent film that's going to be coming up in the next year or so with people from all 50 states. They interviewed me for that. There's a Star Advertiser article coming pretty soon. So I really want the word to get out. And especially if you all have questions, email me, please. I've got way too much going on for social media, and I just miss those. I can't get to those messages. quarantinebreakers@gmail.com. If you're a long hauler and you need assistance and guidance, email me. I will respond. I will get back to you. I will help you. There is hope. And I'm proof of that. I'm like 95% better. So.
Sure sounds like it. I mean, what an inspirational story. I cannot help but think about all of those people out there struggling right now that had COVID 2 years ago, a year ago. Recently, we saw a couple of survivors in our room tonight. They're sharing the same symptoms. We had Bozo Anama on the show as an impromptu guest one night. We still have all of those others that showed up. And how many COVID, and that's why I get irritated when people talk about but COVID has a 99.9% survival rate.
And of those survivors, how many have long haul? Of those long haulers, 50% of them cannot go back to work.
Yes, exactly. And I think that is where the government, and not just here in Hawaii, because I see it all over the country, any news broadcast you watch, they do not make mention of that. And that's what feeds or fuels the fire from these people saying, all this for a 99.9 cent survival rate. Come on, people. This is exactly why we wanted to have this show tonight, was so that people can understand it's not just a cough, it's not just a sore throat, it's not oxygen, it's when you get released, if you survive. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that don't even survive COVID, but those that do, half cannot go back to work, will be on disability, but there's still a large percentage that are partially disabled and may be able to go to work, but as Angela talked about, couldn't function at your peak function because of the long haul symptoms. So
right.
I cannot help but think about those people that are struggling right now.
Right. I see somebody mentioning MS. Yes. Actually, one of the quizzes that I take every week is related to MS because there's some similar things that go on with the brain. Also, chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia. If anybody's had mono back in the day and then ended up with chronic fatigue, there are viruses that can cause this storm that happens afterward to kind of deal with what the storm that went on in your body, and then that results in a multi-inflammatory process that causes damage to your body, and for some people you can't function. So let me talk a little bit quickly about the vaccine. I'm 3 times vaxxed because now I'm immunocompromised. Well, I was before because I was on Cosentyx, but my brain was healthy, my body was pretty much healthy, but I got the first vaccine and I felt like $1,000,000. And I did a story with HNN and I'm like, it's over for me. I feel better. And then I got the second vax, and that vax took me a week to recover from. And slowly after that, I started feeling better. But guess what? It couldn't fix any of the neurons, right? Because there's no medication really that can wake up a damaged neuron that's concussed, that has a brain that has a concussion. So that really, and because people were like, oh yeah, you said the vax would help. It did help. It helped with a heck of a lot of the issues that I had, but it couldn't deal with the damaged neurons. I was walking around like a space cadet for 18 months. I was a space cadet who was a really good faker. I was a space cadet that was a really good talker. I was a space cadet that had a great team of volunteers that helped keep after me in a very polite and nice way. Even the various leaders in the Senate COVID committee and people at the Department of Health and other state and city officials, even the mayor, they all know me. They've all had text conversations with me. And I'm sure they all had a moment when they're like, whoa, Angela's off the rails, or Angela is intense, and now you know why. Now you know why. And I say to all of you, thank you for being there for me. Thank you for humoring me. Thank you for putting up with me. Thank you for placating me if you had to. Thank you for believing in me. There just really are no words that can say mahalo palana ole me ka ha'aha. So with thanks and humility. Shoot.
Well, Angela, thank you so much. I mean, again, we're going to have to deal with this issue going forward with so many people. And we don't know what the outcomes of Omicron will be, or any of these next variants that are to come. And we got to start paying attention. I'm glad that your story is getting out. I'm glad you shared it with us first. That I'm so blessed. But I'm glad that the other media outlets will be sharing the story across the country, so people that are struggling can at least know where they can go to get some help. And I think it's time that now, medical insurances and doctors and all of these people got to come together to make sure that every single person that is subject to this long haul symptoms can get the help that they need. So, oh, I think we lost her. Oh gosh, lost power. Come on, Norman. Where's my cord, Norman? Well, I guess that was a clue. As you can see, she was very emotional at the end. She went through a lot of stuff, and perseverance, and like she said, she was a good faker, a good talker. I know we've had that discussion in the past, and that's why we didn't bother her, because we knew what she was going through, and we knew that we all we wanted was for her to get better, and I'm so thankful that she did. So I hope you guys got some value out of that. I hope you guys get to go out and share this with your friends and relatives that may be suffering from long haul. I know there's at least a couple of long haulers watching tonight. Again, you can email her, and she wasn't kidding. quarantinebreakers@gmail.com. That goes to her. She will respond. She can help you out, even if it's to provide support and give you guys at least give you guys an idea of what can happen, and the positive that can come out, because this is horrible. Imagine uh, having dementia like symptoms at 50 years old because your brain is just not working right, and they tell you that this is a survivable disease. This is just one story out of many, and we pray for Angela to fully recover quickly. We'll definitely get her back on. I know she had some other issues she wanted to talk about. We ran out of time, or she ran out of battery. I would have kept her on as long as she wanted to, but unfortunately her battery is kaput. So with that, folks, again, tomorrow night we will have Dr. Miskovich and Dr. Akiona to talk about that study that we had talked about before the show, about the infectiousness lasting longer than 50. I'm sorry, longer than 5 days, and we'll break that study apart tomorrow. All right, folks. You guys stay safe. God bless. We love you guys. Appreciate you guys hanging in there tonight with us. And share this, guys. Share this with everybody you know. Just hit the share button, or if you're on YouTube, just copy that link and post it on your Facebook page. Let's get the word out, folks. The village is strong. Let's keep it going. All right, folks. Love you guys. Take care. God bless.